Look, I need to tell you about something I witnessed last month that genuinely blew my mind. I was at a restaurant, nothing fancy, just a regular steakhouse, and I overheard this couple at the next table. The guy pulls out his phone, checks his bank account, and I hear him say to his date, "Yeah, money's pretty tight right now, you know how it is." Here's the thing though, I accidentally saw his screen. This man had $47,000 sitting in his checking account. $47,000, and he's sitting there pretending he's broke. My name is Elon Musk, and I spend way too much time thinking about why successful people sabotage their own wealth. If you're someone who's actually doing pretty well financially but finds yourself constantly downplaying your success, or maybe you're watching your friends do this and you can't figure out why, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to completely change how you think about financial transparency. So here's what most people don't realize. We're living through what I call the invisible wealth era, and the numbers on this are absolutely staggering. According to a 2023 study from the Financial Psychology Institute, 64% of Americans who have a net worth over $250,000 actively hide their financial stability from friends and family. 64%. That's nearly 2/3 of people who actually achieved what most would consider financial success, and they're walking around pretending they're struggling just like everyone else. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about millionaires trying to avoid being asked for money. The research shows this behavior starts at much lower wealth levels. People making $85,000 a year tell their friends they make $60,000. Couples with $100,000 in savings claim they're living paycheck to paycheck. Someone driving a paid-off 5-year-old will complain about car payments they don't actually have. Now you might be thinking, okay, but why does this matter? If people want to be private about money, what's the big deal? Here's the thing, this isn't just about privacy. This is about something much deeper, and it's actually destroying people's ability to build real wealth. Let me explain. There are 4 main reasons people hide financial stability, and understanding these is absolutely crucial because each one creates its own trap. Reason number 1, social survival. Look, humans are wired for tribal acceptance. It's literally in our DNA. And here's the brutal truth, in most social circles, being financially stable makes you the outsider. I saw this play out with a client named. Guy worked his tail off, got promoted to $120,000 salary by age 32, paid off his student loans, had $80,000 saved up. Objectively crushing it, right? But every time he hung out with his college friends, they'd complain about being broke, about how impossible it is to save money, about how the system is rigged. Told me he felt physically uncomfortable. He said it was like he was betraying them just by doing well. So you know what he started doing? He'd split appetizers to save money. He'd suggest free activities because he was trying to be more frugal. He created this entire false narrative about his finances just to fit in. And here's what's insane. A University of Chicago study from 2024 found that 43% of people have deliberately made poor financial decisions just to maintain social acceptance. They bought cars they couldn't afford. They went on trips they didn't want to take. They turned down promotions because they didn't want their friends to know they were moving up. Reason number 2, the guilt complex. This one's darker and it's way more common than anyone wants to admit. Let me paint you a picture. Sarah grew up working class. Her parents struggled. Her siblings struggle. She gets a good education, lands a tech job making $140,000, maxes out her 401k, builds up a 6-month emergency fund. She's doing everything right. But every time she talks to her family, there's this weight. Her sister's complaining about a $400 car repair she can't afford. Her mom's worried about medical bills. And Sarah's sitting there with $30,000 liquid in her savings account, feeling like a fraud every time she says, "Yeah, things are tough for me too." The guilt becomes unbearable, so she hides it, not just from them, from herself. She starts creating false narratives about her own finances. Well, I don't really have that much. Cost of living is so high here. After taxes and everything, I'm barely making it. Here's what most people don't realize. This guilt complex doesn't just affect your relationships. It fundamentally alters your relationship with money itself. A 2023 Business Review study found that people experiencing financial guilt are 71% less likely to invest their money appropriately. They let it sit in checking accounts earning nothing. They don't negotiate for raises they deserve. They literally punish themselves financially for succeeding. Now let's talk about what this actually costs you, because the numbers here are genuinely shocking. I want you to imagine 2 people, Alex, and both are 30 years old. Both make $90,000 a year. Both have $50,000 saved up. Alex is open about doing well financially, not bragging, just honest. When friends ask how work is going, Alex says, "Really good actually, got a raise last year." Alex invests the $50,000, contributes $1,000 a month to investments, accepts that 7% average annual return from a basic index fund. Hides financial stability, tells everyone money's tight, That $50,000 sits in a checking account earning 0.5% interest, contributes $300 a month to savings because contributing more would feel wrong when everyone else is struggling. Fast forward 30 years, they're both 60 years old. Alex has approximately $1.47 million. Let me say that again, $147 million. Has $287,000. That's a $1.18 million difference. Over $1 million lost because of the psychological need to appear financially struggling. But here's where it gets even crazier, and this is something I see constantly. The hiding itself creates real financial damage beyond just lost returns. Think about it, when you're pretending to be broke, you can't ask for the raise you deserve because that would reveal you're already doing well. Take advantage of opportunities that require upfront capital. Network with other financially successful people who could accelerate your growth. Learn from people who built real wealth because you're not in those conversations. This is where it gets really interesting. A Fidelity study from late 2024 found that people who hide their financial stability earn, on average, 23% less over their careers than people at similar starting points who are transparent. 23%, that's not just correlation. The researchers controlled for education, industry, location, everything. The hiding itself was the variable. Now look, we need to talk about social media, because it's made this entire phenomenon exponentially worse. Here's the paradox: we live in an era of unprecedented financial performance art. Everyone's posting their struggles. The adulting is hard memes, the I'm so broke tick, the humble brags disguised as complaints. And simultaneously, we have people posting their wins, the luxury vacations, the new cars, the designer purchases. But here's what nobody's posting: actual financial stability. Think about your Instagram feed right now. You see people posting about being broke. You see people posting about luxury experiences. But when's the last time you saw someone post, "Hey, I maxed out my IRA today, I have 6 months of expenses saved, and I'm on track to retire comfortably"? You never see that, because it's not relatable enough for the struggling crowd, and it's not flashy enough for the luxury crowd. This creates what I call the missing middle phenomenon. The people who are actually doing it right, building real, sustainable wealth, have become invisible. And that invisibility has consequences. A 2024 Morgan Stanley study found that 67% of people under 35 believe that financial stability is either impossible to achieve or requires extreme luck or inheritance. 67%, but here's the kicker. The same study found that 34% of people in that age group actually have healthy savings rates and positive net worth. That's 1 in 3 people doing well, but 2 in 3 people thinking it's impossible. Why the disconnect? Because the people doing well are hiding. Now you might be thinking, okay, but maybe people should be private about money. Isn't it tacky to talk about finances? And look, I get that impulse, but there's a massive difference between privacy and deception, between not volunteering information and actively lying about your circumstances. Let me tell you about the moment this usually breaks down, because it always does eventually. I worked with a couple, David and Lisa. For years, they played the struggling game with their friends. They'd been maxing out retirement accounts, had a paid-off mortgage, had nearly $400,000 in investable assets by their early 40s. But to everyone around them, they were just getting by. Then David's best friend from college called him in crisis. Medical emergency, needed $8,000 immediately. Insurance wouldn't cover it, didn't know what to do. David froze. He had the money, could write that check without even noticing it financially. But he'd spent years telling this friend he was barely making it. If he suddenly had $8,000 to lend, the entire facade would crumble. You know what he did? He said he couldn't help, couldn't lend the money, and his friendship never recovered. Not because he didn't lend the money, but because 6 months later, the friend found out through mutual connections that David was actually quite well off. The betrayal wasn't financial, it was the years of deception. Here's what most people don't realize: the cost of hiding isn't just financial. It's relational, psychological, and ultimately, it prevents you from actually enjoying the security you've built. A university study from 2024 found that people who hide financial stability report 41% higher anxiety levels about money than people who are transparent, even when they have identical financial positions. The hiding creates the stress you were trying to avoid. So what's the solution here? Because I'm not suggesting you post your bank statements on Instagram or wear a shirt that says, "I'm financially stable, ask me how." The alternative is what I call strategic transparency, and it's a complete game changer. Here's how it works. Step 1, reframe success as normal, not exception. Instead of "money's so tight," try "I'm fortunate that I've been able to save consistently." Instead of pretending you can't afford something, say, "That's not where I choose to spend my money right now." This is powerful because it does two things simultaneously. It's honest and it normalizes good financial behavior. You're not bragging, you're not giving numbers, but you're not lying either. Step 2, share the process, not just the outcome. When people ask how you're doing, share the strategies, not the balances. I've been following a pretty strict budget and it's made a huge difference. I automated my savings and it's been surprisingly effective. I finally started investing consistently and I wish I'd started earlier. This does something incredible. It makes financial stability feel achievable rather than mysterious. Step 3, create space for real financial conversations. This is where it gets really powerful. Start having actual conversations about money strategies with the people you trust. Not bragging about how much you have, but discussing what works. The best savings accounts, investment strategies, budgeting approaches. I've seen this create incredible ripple effects. One person starts being honest about their financial practices, and suddenly their whole friend group starts having real conversations about money. They start sharing resources. They start holding each other accountable. They start actually building wealth together instead of pretending to struggle together. Step 4, redefine your social currency. Look, here's the brutal truth. If your entire social identity is built on struggling, you need new friends. I know that sounds harsh, but it's real. Find people who celebrate progress, who normalize saving, who make building wealth a collective goal rather than something to hide. Your social circle should be pulling you up, not requiring you to play small to fit in. Here's what this is really about, and why I'm actually kind of frustrated that more people aren't talking about this. We're creating a society where financial success has to be hidden to be socially acceptable. And that creates a vicious cycle where nobody learns how to actually build wealth because the people who know how are pretending they don't. Think about what that means for the next generation. Kids are growing up seeing either A, people who appear to be struggling but are secretly doing fine. B, people flashing luxury on social media, often financed by debt. They're not seeing actual, sustainable financial stability modeled anywhere. No wonder financial literacy is at an all-time low. A 2024 Federal Reserve study found that 63% of Americans couldn't cover a $500 emergency expense. But that same study found that among people making over $75,000 a year, people who absolutely should be able to cover that 42% still couldn't. That's not an income problem. That's a behavioral problem created by the normalization of financial instability. So here's what I want you to do, and this is going to feel uncomfortable at first, but I promise it gets easier. This week, have one honest conversation about money, just one. Not about how much you make or have, but about your financial practices. Tell someone about a money strategy that's working for you. Ask someone about their approach to saving. Normalize the conversation. Because here's the thing, every single person who's hiding their financial stability is making it harder for everyone else to achieve financial stability. We're creating a false narrative about what's normal, what's possible, and what's acceptable. The people who are doing well financially have a responsibility, not to brag, not to make others feel bad, but to show that it's possible. To normalize good financial behavior, to share what works. Look, you didn't get financially stable by accident. You made deliberate choices. You sacrificed, you learned, you executed. And pretending you didn't do those things, pretending it's all just luck or impossible circumstances, that doesn't help anyone. The greatest gift you can give someone who's struggling financially isn't to pretend you're struggling too. It's to show them there's a path out, to prove it's possible, to share what you've learned. Stop hiding your financial stability. Start normalizing financial success. If this video changed how you think about money transparency, smash that like button and subscribe, because I make videos about the psychology of wealth every single week. Drop a comment below telling me, have you been hiding your financial stability? What's one conversation you're going to have this week? I'll see you in the next one.